Hi there. I am so excited about being able to go live. This is my first one for tonight, so if you stop by and you join me, thank you very much. My name is Sherry K Hopkins, or Sherry Hopkins. So tonight and this year for 2024, I decided that I was going to read books. I listened to a lot of them audibly, but one of my friends and my athletes that I train wrote a book. So I thought, what a better way to start off the year by breaking down his book and reading it a little bit. So here it is. Let's see if I can do something here. All right. So it is The Art of the Struggle, the 5 Inconvertible Laws for Transformation, Success, and Fulfillment by Reggie Flowers. So I'm just going to start off reading a little bit about it, reading the sleeve here, and then taking a break, and then I will come back again tomorrow. So the sleeve is what he has to say here, and this is from the author. If you are interested in purchasing this book, Reggie's website is www.reggieflowers.com. So from the author here. The elephant on the front with his red and white paisley tie and white flower stands for more than just a cool design or aesthetics. When God placed the vision in my head to write The Art of the Struggle, and it was time for me to come up with a cover design, I quickly referenced a story I heard about a while back. In detail, the harsh realities for elephants that they are held captive in circuses and process used to tame them. These massive and mythical creatures possess unmatched strength, intelligence, and endurance. Taming begins as a baby elephant by people and things much more inferior than them. The baby elephant is tied to a large metal link chain anchored to a wooden stake in the ground. Day after day, the little elephant tries to break the chain, but by the time the elephant reaches maturity, it no longer attempts to break the chain. The elephant has become emotionally tied and defeated. The chain has conditioned it subconsciously to believe whenever it tries to pull and feels resistance to just give up. The circus staff can now tie this massive elephant to a stake secured by a frail rope. Once the elephant feels any resistance, it gives up. Since the elephant, fully grown, has enough strength to carry 19,000 pounds, it can easily rip the stake from the ground. You've probably, at some point in your life, made a decision to be like the conditioned elephant. By way of an experience tied to a deep emotion, you have become anchored by limiting beliefs about yourself. Most humans struggle with their personal identity. Your power can be accessed when you become clear of your purpose, when you know who you are and what you are called to do. Amazing acts can now be done by you. What would it take for the conditioned, defeated elephant to break the rope? A stronger reason to persevere. A mother elephant saw her baby elephant in danger. Her instinct, her need to protect, would cause her conditioning to surrender, just like that of the elephant. The Art of the Struggle is going to lend proven strategies to help you develop a strong enough reason to break the rope that's holding you back from achieving all that you want. Persevere, from Reggie Flowers. I'm just excited to dive into this. Just the beginning of it. I'm going through a lot of stuff in my life, and that's why I figured I would take time to read this, because maybe I could connect with you as I'm going through some of the things in my life. So I went through the book, and I'm going to read it chapter by chapter, but I thought it's best for us to start off here before we dive into the chapters tonight, just to read through the introduction. Introduction. Progress is essential to your happiness and well-being. It is one of the most gratifying emotions one can experience in a lifetime. Progress fuels desire. It suggests increase. It yearns for excitement. It attracts possibility. Progress encourages you to take on your next journey. It aids in your ability to feel as though everything you've sacrificed thus far was worth it. Progress is a required need of mankind. Investing time wisely becomes a priority to you. Ultimately, you have never felt more alive than you do when you're in the presence of progress. We all have the potential to experience progress consistently in our lives. Progress isn't just given to those who desire it, it's given to those who deserve it. What about regress? It is opposing forces of progress. When the markets crashed in 2008, millions of Americans were economically devastated. People, for the first time, found themselves unwillingly becoming regressive. 401ks were reduced to 200.5ks. Property values were significantly depreciated. Foreclosures were at an all-time high. When someone said job security in a conversation, people would listen with anticipation for the punchline. This era validated the deconstruction of the American dream. You and I were told to go to school, get an education, and find a great job. This was a strategy for long-term and for retirement and security. Millions were dumbfounded. They couldn't understand why they were being penalized for obedience. The hardworking couple that brought home in the right community saved their money, or the single mother who worked 2-3 jobs to put herself through night school and graduated college couldn't understand. The struggle is real. This is a phrase that has now become a statement that is described in an experience of millions. Either you're moving forward or you're going backwards. What you are not doing is standing still. I think we both can agree no one wants to experience constant defeat or failures. It would be my pleasure to extend an invitation for you to join me on one of the most incredible, figuratively speaking, roller coaster rides from broke to riches and back to being broke to while working back to riches and again. My ride began just before my 20th birthday. During this time, I was a full-time college student attending Oakland University. I was your typical pre-med biology major, bombarded with coursework and studying, which left very little time for my social life. My goal was to become an orthopedic surgeon. I often chuckled when people asked what inspired me to become a doctor. My answer was quite simple. My mother had 2 college degrees, so it was demanded, of me to at least get one. I desired to be successful, and I was pretty good at math and science, so I'll be a doctor. I went online to do some research and Googled the top 5 earning physicians in the medical field. Yes, it was teenage logic. If I'm not mistaken, I think orthopedics was either number 1 or number 2. Since I had an athletic background, the concept of working on bones just made sense. I shadowed physicians at the beginning of my sophomore year, and by the end of the year, I no longer wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. What happened? Can you believe some of the doctors were working 12 to 36-hour shifts? I thought to myself, this is crazy. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I'd be working 36 of them. At this point, I knew my heart of hearts that being an orthopedic surgeon wasn't for me. Within a matter of weeks of decisions to change my career path, my mother received a phone call from a stranger out of New York. She had found my mother's contact information online and gave her a call. Keep in mind, this was 2004. Personal information wasn't readily available like it is in 2016. Phyllis, the stranger, informed my mother that an article featuring her was on the front page of a local newspaper in New York. At that time, my mother was living in a small city of Port Huron located in Michigan. The local newspaper was just that, local newspaper. It wasn't clear to my mother or I how this article made it to upstate New York. The article was titled, "Ex-cop, retired social worker, heavily involved in the community." In an article, my mother was quoted regarding her concerns about Gen Y and millennials not being able to successfully retire with pensions and Social Security benefits. Phyllis, the New Yorker, felt compelled to reach out and see if my mother was open to an opportunity to earn additional money outside of what she currently was making. My mother explained to Phyllis that she was not interested at the moment, but Phyllis, her son, was looking for something different. I remember that Monday evening vividly. I had just returned from the Oakland Center, or OC, which was the hub of the student activity, after studying for a biology test. After only being the one in my dorm room for an hour, this strange number with the 716 area code appeared. Showed up on my caller ID. Typically, I didn't take calls from numbers I didn't recognize, but that evening I was led by the Holy Spirit to answer the phone, and I did. After small talk, Phyllis asked me to join a presentation call in a couple of hours of that evening. She recommended that I try to get a hold of somebody on this call with me. I immediately called my best friend and told him to join the conference call. He did, and we both listened to the presentation in the evening. Before the call was even remotely close to being over, something different. Instinctively, I knew that in my life would never be the same. Have you ever had that feeling that you couldn't explain, but you knew everything in your life was about to change for the better? That's what happened to me. I felt it deep in my soul. The information I received was so inspirational, it was unlike anything I had ever experienced in my life. The feeling overwhelmed with excitement was an understatement. I didn't have any doubts that God was answering my prayer. After my decision to discontinue my pre-med major, I had prayed to God seeking direction and clarity. On the call, I was introduced to two wealthy principles: residual income and leverage income. I also heard testimonies on the average people who were making more in 1 month than they used to earn in the entire year. After the conference call, I got back on the phone with Phyllis and she asked me a series of questions to qualify my interest. I told her that I loved everything I heard and wanted to know more. The only challenge was I didn't have the initial capital to start. She told me that wasn't a problem, and the next step was to get on the phone with the presenter who had happened to be a multimillionaire. This was the first time I had the opportunity to speak to a millionaire. I can't deny that I was quite nervous, but Phyllis did such a phenomenal job introducing Mrs. Davis to me. It helped me feel comfortable getting on the phone and speaking with her. The conversation between Mrs. Davis and I went from a phone introduction to a series of events that had transcended into a lifelong friendship. The events started with me looking for airfare from Michigan to California, which I only had 72 hours to book, all while doing it as a typical financially strapped college student. No job, no income, and definitely no assets. I had to quickly find and employ a strategy to get the money. So I had to rely on the best kept secret: the ATM at the Bank of Mom. I asked if she would give me the money. For the first time in my life, Mom didn't have any extra money to send me to California. Now I'm worried. As a matter of fact, she suggested that she could send me to Africa for less than California. I called Phyllis back, and with worry evidenced in my voice, I told her my dilemma. I distinctly remember her saying to me this: "Boy, don't call me back until you find a way." Phyllis proceeded to hang up on me. I thought, who does this woman think she is? Then I remember she was successful. I was financially broke and she was interested in helping me change my circumstances. I searched online for hours, running through multiple itinerary scenarios, and finally I landed a round-trip flight leaving Detroit International Airport and arriving in Santa Ana for $268. Boom, it was on. The rise. I returned from the convention excited and ready to go. My mother was late paying for some of her bills to help me get the startup capital. I enrolled immediately as a new distributor. I had a private business reception at my home with 19 of my closest friends and family. That evening, 17 of my friends did not feel like this business was for them. I felt slightly discouraged, but I was determined to prove them that this is what I thought it was. After being in the business for 18 days, I was able to recoup my initial investment. By the 30th day, I earned an additional $1,700. Over the next year, everything seemed to be going well. During this time, I found out that I was going to be the father of a little girl. I found myself very frustrated because I wasn't earning the type of money that would allow me to continue my business full time and provide for my family. So I quit. I didn't contact Phyllis or Mrs. Davis. I just left quickly, quietly. I was embarrassed and ashamed. They both believed in me deeply, but my belief in myself dissipated. I think that was the first and the only time I attempted to give up on my dreams. Seems like the newspaper always brought me luck, and so my search for the job began. Once again, the local newspaper helped me. I found a job as a car salesman. Business at the dealership was going extremely well. I was earning more money than I had earned in my life, but for some reason, I didn't feel fulfilled. After being exposed to the opportunity for both time and money freedom, it became hard to accept this job as my best option. So after a year at the dealership, I made a firm decision. This is it. I'm done working 6 days a week and 12 hours a day away from my family. I mustered up the courage to give Mrs. Davis a call and asked if she would reconsider working with me, and she said yes. I returned to my home-based business with a vengeance. I put it all on the line. My focus was greater than it had ever been. I was non-negotiable about success. Within 7 months, I achieved my first senior position within the company. This position, to me, to earn a multi-six-figure income. By the 8th month, I had generated more than 5 figures in 1 month. By the 15th month, I was running a 7-figure business. By the time I was 23, I operated a multi-million-dollar business with all the benefits, none of the headaches of a traditional business. Everything was like I dreamed. I was able to help my mother out financially. I donated to 2 great causes. I took frequent vacations, sometimes as frequent as 9 times a year. I was living the dream. My family was no longer struggling emotionally, spiritually, or economically. I was on the fast track to a 7-figure annual income. So many of my colleagues had just reached a certain level of success, and I knew I wasn't far behind them. I was traveling all around the country, coaching and training thousands of people on personal development and building a successful home-based business. I strove for greatness and ultimately became a top producer globally. This led to assisting my mentor at the convention, training 18 to 20,000 people. I had the honor of being featured on prime time television. Money was flowing quickly and abundantly every single week. I believed I could take on the world. Little did I know how big the world truly was. There comes a time when you will learn that your talent can take you where places your character won't keep you. And I'm going to hold up there because I'd like just to review a little bit about this. I'm a personal training coach. I coach people on a lot of personal issues, life issues, nutritional issues, recovering from injury, getting back moving, self-confidence, all of those things. And I found myself repeatedly in financial crisis. So while I was training Reggie, and I still am training him, he wrote this book and came out with it. And I just find it quite interesting because at the time, about 2 years ago, when I was having a lot of financial difficulty, just being a trainer, I decided I was going to go back to the corporate work world. And I learned how to become a service advisor at Mercedes, learned all about the cars, learned all about what I needed to, and it was just not for me. So just like Reggie, I went in and I said, one day, this is it. And I walked out. Not a 2-week notice, nothing. So now here I am, 1 month into my journey of unemployment after leaving there. And I am just devouring his information on the art of struggle. I love the information he told us about what he had learned on residual income, and leveraged income. So I'm excited about learning more. While I know about my finances, I'm excited about learning more, taking it to the next level, and expanding my business. So I'm working on multiple different business scenarios right now, and I'm very excited about them. But I'm going to continue to read Reggie's book because he's got so much to talk about. So today, while we got into it, we learned a little bit about him. We're talking about his rise. Tomorrow I will finish. We'll start off with his fall, and I'm going to try to keep my videos right around 20-25 minutes. So I hope that you watch it, and if you could please give me any feedback and let me know where you're at in life. I think sometimes communicating, co-creating, and networking is our best chances to be able to get through some of our most difficult situations. So love and light to you. Take care.